What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Yamatelekatiayas podcast with your host, yours truly. He is I, and I am the one. Jai Shields here on this Monday, April the 21st, the year 2025, and we got a jam-packed show here for you on today's program. I get to my disgusting, pathetic, anemic, rage-inducing Baltimore Orioles here to start the show. Obviously, the NBA playoffs recap an underwhelming game one weekend across the National Basketball Association with only one good game that was between the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets on Saturday afternoon. We turn the page ahead to some game twos coming up at the beginning of this work week. Obviously, we have the NFL draft later on this week. Gave you my 2 cents on the NFL draft, and away we go. I also give you my 2 cents, by the way, on the Yankee debacle. How in the world the umpires don't rule that on the field a home run with Judge in the latter innings of their game against the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday afternoon, I don't understand. And obviously Max Fried with the no-hitter getting rescinded thanks to the official score. And it's how about that? The Yankees let the Tampa Bay Rays play their 81 home games and their spring training home in downtown Tampa. And the Yankees get jobbed not once but twice. Once via the bad home run foul ball ruling, and then they look at it on the replay and they don't reverse for whatever the reason, and then in the sixth inning they change the hit, they change an error to a hit, and it wipes away Max Fried's no-hitter. It's oh my! If you're a Yankee fan and you played well, that's the crazy thing. You've played well. You had a nice series in Tampa Saturday, notwithstanding, because Devin Williams is essentially the Black Clay Holmes of 2025. But outside of that, you had a great weekend in your spring training stadium against the Tampa Bay Rays, and you're walking out of there to begin the work week pissed off because Judge should have another home run and Max Fried should have had an opportunity at history. But I get to that as the show progresses. Well, I tell you one thing, no laughing matter when it comes to my beloved baseball team. I don't know, those of you all out there that are that consider yourself Christ followers, I hope you had a great Easter, because I sure as hell did not, because my Baltimore Orioles, my beloved baseball team, do what they always do. They ruined many birthdays from 2018 through 2023 with the break period being 2020, because they didn't play on my birthday because of the pandemic. So they ruined many birthdays from 2018 to 2023 where they just refuse to win. They don't win on Mother's Day. They don't win on Father's Day. They don't win on 4th of July. If I were to check, they probably don't win on Juneteenth either. They lose on Memorial Day. It's just, if the Orioles got to play a baseball game on a given holiday or any day of significance, they don't win. Point blank period. They don't win. So, and Easter was no different, because they put together such an embarrassing, pathetic performance against the Cincinnati Reds on Sunday afternoon. For those of you all that did not see the game, I got my phone right here so I can show you the exact final score. That was the final score of I understand the camera's out of focus. That was the final score of the game on Sunday. No, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens did not have an impromptu spring off-season game on a Sunday afternoon with, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz in the building on CBS. No. They did not play an impromptu spring off-season game. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase were not on the field in downtown Baltimore yesterday afternoon. This was the Cincinnati Reds and the Baltimore Orioles in a regular season game in mid to late April. It was a regular season baseball game. And the Orioles lost damn near by a whole 24 runs. I'm sitting there watching the game, and it's funny because before the game started, I'm home. I'm making breakfast for my parents. My brother's out. My sister is still at college. So it's just me in the house with my parents. And I'm standing at the kitchen making pancakes, make my dad spinach omelet, whatever. and they talk about how they notice my strides as a broadcaster and everything else, and you have voice, you have something to say, you're good on the. I mean, they're kissing my ass, but if it's your parents or somebody in the street, it's appreciated nevertheless. So they're talking about that, and then my mother recalls because she, for whatever the reason, is more not intertwined, but more in tune, I guess, with my broadcasting plight, I guess, a little bit more than my father for whatever the reason. So she says that, like, I remember when you first started out, I mean, all you did was scream and yell, and you would just yell and rant and rave, and it's like, I was pressing you at the time, back when you were in high school, you don't have to yell, you don't have to scream or anything. And then she gives me examples of all the shock jocks in the history of radio and television that had to be over the top and obnoxious in order for them to get the attention, and how I don't have to do that because I naturally sound good with the deep radio like voice and the vocabulary and blah 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 blah. And then I tell her, it's like, you're right. And over the years, I've tried my best to make sure that I don't yell and that I don't raise my voice and go crazy essentially every single show. But I told her there are exceptions. When I see my team perform like absolute dog shit, I it's something within me that I get frustrated. My heart rate goes up. It's like my patience goes. It's I don't, maybe it's because of the fact I'm an East Coast sports fan, and it's Baltimore fans are like that. Boston fans are like that. Philadelphia fans are like that. New Yorkers are like that. Washington D.C.'s like that. Maybe it's an East Coast thing. If I was from Seattle or from Los Angeles or from Phoenix or I don't know Denver, maybe I'd be a little bit more subdued in my anger and my frustration with my team. But I tell you, it's like, Mom, no matter how many times I can literally I can do a show where I sound like Barry White. My octave and the voice does not raise. Y'all have heard me, seen me do shows where I talk all the way through. I don't raise my voice. I don't. Yeah, I may talk loud because naturally I talk loud, but I don't yell. I don't scream. I don't huss, fuss, and go ape shit. Essentially every single show. That could possibly change because my baseball team is going to have me through a wall by Mother's Day at the rate it's going. And she said, well, you know what the problem is, because you keep on getting upset and because your teams frustrate you and anger you. So you know what the problem is? Your problem is you need to change teams. Like you need to change. No, she didn't say change teams. She said you need to find additional favorite teams. So like you can still have your Orioles, still have your Bengals, but you got to find two teams in the both sports that you have favorite teams, and you got to find an additional team for you to root for that wins a lot, that doesn't have you all bent out of shape, get you and keeps you in a better mood, so you're not yelling and screaming and everything else. And you guys know me, I'm not like that. Especially with baseball, because the Orioles, because it's in the blood. It's the Baltimore thing. It's the Orioles, and it's nobody else. Even if it's a team that doesn't have any like natural rivalry or any historical confrontation with them, whether the Colorado Rockies or the Arizona Diamondbacks, or pick an American League team, the the LA Angels or the Oakland/Sacramento. I can't do that. Once I'm a fan for life, and they're the only team that I have any interest in rooting for. It's just if anyone else has a problem with that, invent a time machine, rewind all the way back before I fell in love with my two teams, and have me pick another team. Unless you can build a time machine, it's not going to change. And especially with the baseball, football. I flirted with that idea. I got to be honest, when my team was absolutely dog shit in 2018, 2019, but I was like, nah. Because I put all this heart an emotion. I can't just go ahead and pick a favorite team because knowing how I am when I'm a favorite or when I'm a fan of something, I go all in. I don't go halvesies. I got to know the history of the franchise backwards and forwards, buy the gear, know the history of with the history of the organization, the coaches, the significant historical memorable teams, and it becomes a whole chore for me. And at this point in time in my life, I'm not going to pick new teams, especially within the same sport in which I already have favorite teams. I'm not going to go out of my way to pick new teams, go through all that work just so I can say, oh, I have another favorite team, so I don't have to get as angry, as pissed off when the Bengals and the Orioles shit the bed. So, and then we have that conversation. I find some humor in it. I laugh it off, and my mom, God bless her, she knows how much my two teams just annoy the living shit out of me, and how it drives me to go crazy when I do this podcast, when I do the radio here at WEAA here in Baltimore. So I laugh at whatever. Don't think much of just nice, lighthearted conversation. With your parents, specifically my mom, over Easter brunch. And then time passes, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30. I'm cooking, doing whatever. I look at my watch. It's like, oh, it's after 1:30. It's 1:37. So I flip on the Oriole game, and Charlie Morton is already in trouble, top of the first inning, because what the fuck else is new? He gets through it by the grace of God somehow, some way. Then Orioles get nothing, top of the second, already with a run. Orioles get a run back, thanks to infield hit, whatever, in the second inning. Or air. Well, infield hit, air, whatever the hell it is. The Reds gifted us because they wanted to be generous to Easter Sunday. They gifted us a run. So it's like, okay, 1-1. Going to have to bring the offense again like we did yesterday. As long as Charlie Morton doesn't, look like a pure amateur, we're going to be okay. And then the third inning from hell came. The 7-run third inning from hell. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Morton is washed. Not that that's breaking news that you didn't know before, but he's washed. And I saw this stat, and I want to regurgitate it for you here for you guys to understand where I'm coming from, because in about 5 minutes, I'm about to lose my ever-loving mind. Just as a disclaimer and as a warning, in about 5 minutes, count down the time, about 5 minutes, if not less than that, I'm a yell, scream, and go ape shit because I can't take this monkey crap anymore from this team. I can't. Here's the stat, Charlie Morton. These are his last 15 starts. So his final 10 in 2024 when he was a member of the Atlanta Braves, and his first 5 starts as an Oriole in 2025. These are his numbers. He's pitching to a 6.45 ERA. He has a whip of 1.689. Opponent batting average is 297. Opponents are hitting 297 off of Charlie Morton. His walk rate at 11%. His stat line yesterday afternoon against the Cincinnati Reds was one of the worst stat lines I have ever seen in all my years of watching and following Major League Baseball. He pitched 2 1/3, surrendered 7 runs on 7 hits, walked the ballpark, 4 walks, gave up a home run to guess who? Ellie De La Cruz. Charlie Morton's ERA for the season is at 10.89. Let me repeat that. Charlie Morton's ERA through his first 5 starts as an Oriole is at 10.89. And for some stupid ass reason, he remains on my baseball team. He remains on my baseball team. And we wonder why this team has gone, what is it, 41, going to be 42 years since their last World Series appearance and since their last World Series championship. This team makes me sick. This team makes me sick. This team makes me ill. They make me angry. They get me pissed off. Honest to God, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting there watching that shit show on Easter Sunday, and I don't know whether to laugh, scream, throw shit at my television, get pissed off, curl into the corner of the room, into the fetal position. I didn't know what emotion I was going to or needed to tap into, because this clusterfuck of a baseball team is so fucking useless and pathetic that I don't know. They have me crossed emotionally. I don't know whether to laugh at them, cry out to God. I don't know what to do at this point. I really don't. And if I hear one more fucking dense idiot sit up and try to tell me that no harm, no foul, it's going to be all right, it's only April, it's only one game, why are you getting emotional? Why are you getting so pissed off? It's only April, Jai. It's only their 21st game of the season. That ain't the damn point! Let me read y'all, in case you all are a little bit slow on the uptake of how this pathetic baseball team has performed recently. Let me give you a quote. This is a damning quote. You guys remember, you Oriole fans out there, you guys remember Austin Wynns, who was on them 2018, 19, 20, them shit show teams, late 2010s, early 2020. You remember Austin Wynns, catcher? He is on the Cincinnati Reds now. This is a quote that he gave yesterday after the game, after Austin Wynns went, and I am not making this up. This is a real life stat. This is not anything I plucked off of a random MLB The Show gameplay video. This is a real, authentic MLB stat. This is what Austin Wynns had to say after he went 6 for 7 with 6,000 RBIs. It's a big league game. We took it to them. We knew they were flat, and they were deprived of their pitching, and we just kept on going. We were hurting with our pitching too, but guess what? We took advantage, and we did what we needed to do. That's not a quote from Johnny Bench. That's a quote from Austin Wynns, who formerly was in the Orioles organization. That paragraph is one of the more damning quotes I've heard from an opponent talking about their op after the game, after a win. That's one of the more damning quotes I've read in a long time from any professional athlete. Baseball player, football player, basketball player, doesn't matter. That quote spoke volumes. What he basically was saying, and I'll get to a whole flat thing in a minute because I've screamed and yelled about that literally since late June, early July of last year. He's saying good baseball teams don't make excuses. He's saying good baseball teams with guys on it that have heart, that are dealing with adversity in one form, fashion, or the other, whether it be injuries, the bullpen's worn out, whatever the case might be. They haven't had an off day in like 3 weeks, whatever the case might be. Good baseball teams don't make excuses. They just go out there, play with the deck of cards they're given, and they find a way to make it work. Good baseball teams that aspire to be great baseball teams, they don't make excuses, because players on good baseball teams and great baseball teams realize excuses don't mean jack diddly shit. This is the major leagues. This is not fucking little league. This is not T-ball. This is the major leagues. Put up or shut up. Getting paid handsomely. High six figures, and then millions of dollars, depending on how great you are. You don't get participation trophies for trying. At least you tried. No. You either win or you lose. Nobody cares about your injuries. Nobody cares about how tired you are. Nobody cares about what the weather was. No one cares about the direction the wind's blowing, whether your girl dumped you. No one gives a shit. Good players, good baseball teams, they find a way to win, regardless of what is thrown their way. They don't make excuses. They don't curl up in a fetal position in a rocking chair going, oh, woe is me. What is I going to do? I start a rotation. It's beaten up, man. We're so battered and beaten up. Injuries, man. Injuries. What are we going to do? Injuries. Oh, my God. We got no Colton Cowser. Oh, no Tyler Wells. Oh, my God. Oh, Grayson Rodriguez. Oh, what is I going to do? Oh, my God. Oh, baby. Oh, what are we going to do? No. They go out there, they put their nose to the fucking grindstone, and they find a way to win. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, whatever method legally necessary, that's what they do. That's what the Cincinnati Reds did. And that's what the Orioles under Brandon Hyde, for you fucking apologists out there, that's what this team doesn't do. Injuries. Kiss my ass with the injuries excuses. Everybody's got injuries. The way that the sport of baseball, for better or for worse, has been set up, and the way it is in 2025, you deal with injuries just like football teams deal with injuries. Unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. Glasnow had to come out of the game for the Dodgers about a few days ago. The Yankees don't have Garrett Cole for the remainder of the season. They've been trying to get Clark Schmidt back, and they got no Louis Hill until deep into the summer. I don't want to hear jack diddly squat about injuries. Excuses are like assholes. Everybody has one, and they all smell of shit. Like the excuses, like the play of this disgusting, decrepit, pathetic, and embarrassing baseball team. How in the hell do you call yourself, quote unquote, professional athletes and allow yourself to get your asses handed to you hand over fist on Easter Sunday, the day of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and you got me yearning for his return because I got to sit up here and watch you pathetic assholes go out there and make a mockery of the sport, losing 24-2 on your own home turf. You got to be kidding me. And you stooges out there don't think that no accountability should be had for this? In the aftermath of this team still playing like shit since June 20th of last year, in the aftermath of this team going 0-5 in the postseason in the last 2 Octobers, including 0-4 in their own ballpark and scoring 1 run in 18 innings worth of games against the Kansas City Royals. And nobody says anything. Nobody says it. Oh, you're overreacting. You're emotional. You don't have a clue. You're this, you're that. Hell with all that. This damn baseball team stinks. And until they pull their heads out of their asses, the same cycle of tomfoolery will continue. The same cycle of tomfoolery will continue. And I saw Jordan Westbrook's quotes with all due respect to Jordan Westburg, who outside of a garbage time home run on Saturday, can't hit his way out of a paper bag worth a damn, who's done nothing since the opening weekend of the season. So a fire was not lit underneath this team's ass when they had in two back-to-back embarrassing Octobers in 23 and 24. And then throw in how the 2024 summer went from mid-late June onward. There wasn't a fire lit underneath this team's ass then. It had to take you getting embarrassed 24-2 in order for some gumption to, quote-unquote, allegedly be lit underneath your ass? What? 24-2. 24-2. 3 touchdowns and a damn field goal. They hung on your asses. This is Major League Baseball. 24-2. For the families that went to the game, yes, they should be given a refund. And then some. And every last one of you bums that put together that disgusting performance, including the manager, you should give your damn game check back. Donate it to charity. Something. What a disgrace. Brandon Hyde after the game. Oh, it's listen to me looking like a bullfrog. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Obviously, you want to come out Easter Sunday and compete, and you don't want to lose like that at all. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. We should be able to go out there in front of our own crowd and compete. No, damn it, Brandon. How about we go out there and we say the goal is to win and look competent while doing so, and win consistently, I might add. I had better luck landing a date with Ashley Graham for my birthday than this team has of winning 3 fucking baseball games in a row. Let alone a series before they played Cleveland. Damn! That's embarrassing. No kidding. I was embarrassed for you watching it. It's embarrassing. No shit. I had fun watching my team get their asses handed to them in a 9-inning game at home. Keep in mind, this is the same Reds team, ladies and gentlemen. The same Reds team that went 35 consecutive innings without scoring a run this month. Novilli, Marte, Austin Wynns were the 8 and 9 hitters in the Reds lineup yesterday. They combined 11 hits between 2 players hitting 8th and 9th in the order. It's the most combined hits by a collection of players batting 8 and 9 in a team's lineup in a single game since 1901. Orioles and Rockies have given up the most runs allowed this season thus far. 118 runs in 21 games worth of baseball. Team rotation ERA is up to 6.11 in 21 games. But us as fans ain't supposed to get pissed off. No one says anything. No one is supposed to say anything. We're not supposed to have a damn standard and an ounce of pride about our team. This is acceptable. This screams World Series contender. This screams World Series favorite. Hell, this screams playoff team. As Mike Elias arrogantly said and stated when he met with the media last week. You are smoking the purest of crack pipes if you think this is a playoff team. The purest of crack pipes. This team stinks. the rate it's going in this city, they'll be talking Ravens training camp by the 4th of July if this team doesn't wise up and pull their heads out of their asses. Because this is a disgrace. And Michael, this is the rotation that you had full confidence was going to deliver this team a World Series championship. At least get their foot in the door. This is the rotation you put together with Charlie Morton's 41 years of age and washed. He can't get me out, and I haven't swung a bat in a baseball game in 7 years. Charlie Morton, Dean Kraft, really? Cade Povich, who's still walking the ballpark. They gave up 11, 9, and 7 walks this weekend. They walked the ballpark when they won on Saturday. 11, 9, and 7. You do the math, how many combined walks that is in 9-inning games each day in a 3-day period. They didn't play a 15 or an 18-inning game. These are 9-inning games. And they walked 11, 9, and 7. You do the math and see how many walks that is. Walk in the ballpark constantly. It's like a merry-go-round. Start the carousel. You get on base and you get on. It's like that old Bugs Bunny meme where he's on the mound pitching and there's literally just a parade of batters that's slugging the ball one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. And you see the big conveyor belt of opposing players going around the bases constantly, around the bases, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And you look up at the scoreboard and there's 97 runs on the board. That's what it's like watching this team. But we're not supposed to get upset. We're not supposed to sense a sense of urgency or panic because, God forbid, anybody on this lousy-ass team find some semblance of self-respect when they play like shit. I can't take it. It's April 21st, and I want the season to be over. Give us their one-way ticket to Cancun and get the hell out of my face. The division-leading Yankees, who all been on running away at the division, they haven't exactly played like the 27 Yankees themselves, but shit, above 500 in first place, tip of the cap. We'll have Pete Simonetti on next week. They've given up 22 runs in their last 8 games. The New York Yankees have given up 22 runs in the last 8 games. The Orioles gave up 24 fucking runs in one 9-inning game yesterday. And can somebody explain to me what in the living hell Cino Perez is still doing on my baseball team? Get his ass out. He's been useless for 2 years. Get his ass out of Baltimore. Got an ERA of over 11. What are we doing? Games out of reach, and he's still giving up runs hand over fist. Get his ass out. According to Fangraphs, word to the wise, the lower it is, the better. ERA minus 161. Translation, that means their rotation is 61% worse than league average. Their team ERA is 61% worse than league average. That's the worst ERA minus in the modern era of baseball since 1900. And only 21 games into this disgusting, decrepit, embarrassing season. And then forget the fact also, Brandon Hyde, there literally is a big-ass brush fire that's about to engulf a whole fucking neighborhood, and leave it to him to just pretend this is gasoline and just pour the gasoline, or 5 gallons of just onto the fire, and then whoosh. You can count on him. That's the only damn thing he's good at anyway. You can count on that. You can count on it. put Ryan O'Hearn, and it is his fault. He's a professional, but it's not his fault. And I lose my mind. I have no patience. And it's not just within sports, it's within life in general. And it even applies to my own personal walk of life with the part-time jobs I've had since 2017 when I was a sophomore in high school. Nothing chaps my ass more than when leadership is so fucking stubborn and hell-bent and ignorant as all hell, where they think, to hell with common sense, to hell with what works best, I'm going to do what I want to do, and to hell with everything else, and I'm going to stick such and such in an area of my place of business that they're not either their best in or the most comfortable in, and I'm going to see if I can fit a square peg into a round hole, and if the shit blows up in my face and I get caught my pants down around the ankles in the aftermath of it, then so be it. I've dealt with bosses like that. And they make me want to take a fucking 2x4 to their head and knock some damn sense into them. So you can only imagine how I feel when I turn on the Oriole game and I see fucking Ryan O'Hearn in right field when he knows good and damn well he's not a fucking outfielder. I don't want to hear no injury excuse about Kierstad with his elbow or Colton Cowser with his broken thumb. He's not an outfielder, damn it. Stop putting him there. And I swear if I got to... I swear. I swear. If I see Jorge Mateo start at second base in the spot of Jackson Holiday again, with him on the bench and Mateo sitting his useless, feeble ass at second, if I got to see Jorge Mateo start in place of Jackson Holiday one more freaking time, I swear to you and everything I own, I don't know what I am going to do. Because there is no logical nor analytical / statistical reasoning or explanation as to why Jorge Mateo, who is a washed, quote-unquote alleged Major League Baseball player, he's as much of a Major League Baseball player as fucking Katy Perry and Gayle King are astronauts. I mean, give me a break. He can't hit the weight of a fucking 8-year-old. He stinks so bad at the plate. He is useless with the bat in his hands. He has run into his fair share of outs on the bases, and he's completely useless with the glove, whether at second base, whether that's at shortstop, or in center field in the Kansas City series. He should have been off this team literally years ago. Years ago. And if I got to see him start in second base and in place of Jackson Holiday one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Especially if you're trying to win 3 games in a row, something you have not done all season long, while Jackson Holiday is hitting the absolute cover off the ball. Who is the future of your franchise? Jackson Holiday or Jorge Mateo? Who's the future second baseman, hopefully for the next decade plus? And I don't want to hear none of this bullshit about bench players and trying to get guys opportunities and righty, lefty matchups. And that's why we bring guys in, as he tried to mansplain to us with his condescending bull jive after the game on Saturday, which I am going to let slide. But I caught that little, that arrogant, condescending bullshit he tried to throw in the fans of us fans who ask every thing known to man why in the hell this useless bum continues to get at bats when he knows good and damn well he can't play worth a nickel. And if I got to see, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Because in fairness to Jackson, I can't get on here and bitch, moan, and scream. He stinks. He can't hit. He's an automatic out. He's on clutch. He's this, he's that. And as a 21-year-old MLB player and his first full season in major leagues, his second year in the majors, I can only critique him and get on him with so much when he's got a manager that has his head up Jorge Mateo's ass so far that he can give him a colonoscopy free of charge for the next 5 years because he continues to put a worthless baseball player in the lineup on a day-in, day-out basis. And again, if this is the 2020 or 2021 or 2019 wars, that'd be a different conversation. But at least so I thought this team was in the business of winning 90-plus games, making the playoffs, and winning a World Series championship. And we're still giving these rebuild rejects an opportunity like it's a damn spring training game in the middle of February. It's just I don't get it. This team is so ass backwards and so stupid and so just devoid of any common sense or a nickel's worth of a clue that it leaves you speechless. It leaves you speechless. Leaves you speechless. It truly, it's unbelievable. It absolutely is unbelievable how pathetic this team is. Really is. Really is. And you guys think I'm joking. They don't pull themselves together. It looks to be a long, and I mean a long ass summer. They'll be talking Ravens training camp so fast come once the 4th of July hits, it'll make your fucking head spin. And come August and September, if not before that, that damn building will be a ghost town. Because the fans don't have the tolerance for this. We suffered too long through that long-ass rebuild and all them pathetic years through D'Angelo's tenure as owner for those 30 years. And then on top of the 41 years, going on 42 that it's been since we've last been in a World Series and won a World Series, enough's enough. Enough is enough. We did not suck and literally have to go into the depths of baseball hell to get these alleged generational talents as top draft picks, wait for them to mature through the minor leagues, then finally get to the majors, play in the playoffs in back-to-back years, only for us to regress backwards, because our team is ran by baseball's version of Dumb and Dumber, who think they're the smartest guy in the room, you can't tell them anything, who think that they're Gene Michael and a second coming of Casey Stengel. Enough is enough. This is the starting rotation. You're Mike Elias. This is the starting rotation that you were satisfied in putting together, coming off of back-to-back first-round playoff exits where you didn't even win a fucking game. And then he had the temerity, audacity, the chutzpah, the nerve, and the unmitigated goal to double down on it when he went with the media last week. You kidding me? And stop using injuries again as an excuse. The team stinks. The rotation put together is awful. And your manager does nothing but exacerbate the situation instead of making it better. With his shitty lineup cards, playing guys out of position, and then not having a post to be found on the bench when his team is floundering in free fall, drowning in the middle of the ocean. Need him to give him a life wrap? No. Just sits there with his arms folded, sitting there looking lost and clueless like John Harbaugh while his team season is going to hell in a handbasket right before our very eyes. And it's been that way since late June, and he hadn't done jack shit about it to change the direction of the ship. But make excuses, gaslight the fan base, give us this positivity Care Bears nonsense after the game. God forbid he holds any player accountable. God forbid he holds any player to a damn standard. And God forbid when his team literally gets their asses handed to them on Easter Sunday, they were the biggest laughingstock in sports yesterday afternoon. And you watch him after the game, he didn't even look angry or pissed off after the game. He just sat there with the long face like, oh, what is I going to do? What are you going to do? Could you throw a chair? Could you pound the desk? Could you drop a few F-bombs? Could you raise the tone in your voice? I said in October, and I say it again. This team has got to prove to me and prove to the rest of the fan base that they want it more than the fans do. Because it looks like, to me, the fans have a hell of a lot more heart than the players and the coaching staff out there on the field and in the dugout. This is their livelihood. This is their legacy on the line. Not Josh Shields. This is their legacy, not mine. I'm just a fan. Their name's going to be attached to this disaster for the years and the generations to come. Not me. Them. Elias, Hyde, and their motley crew that makes up the 26-man roster of this bad baseball team. And last thing, the front office. Look, especially leading with ownership. Listen, I like David Rubenstein, nice man. It's not his fault that Mike Elias thinks he's essentially, the Brad Pitt version of Billy Bean from the Moneyball movie. By the way, if you're Mike Elias, how's this cutting corners thing working out for you? Cutting corners and try to frugally finesse your way into building a championship caliber roster, especially when it comes to you building that rotation. How's it worked out for you? How's it working out for you? Last I checked, the early 2000s Oakland A's won this amount of championships. Last I checked, the 2002 Oakland A's didn't win the World Series, let alone win the pennant. The division rival Angels did. And you keep fucking around, you're going to find out, and the Yankees might accidentally stumble upon banner number 28 if the Red Sox don't get there first. How's that working out for you, cutting corners? So it's not Rubenstein's fault. He's been on record. He's not a baseball man, which I understand, but he's been on record many a time saying the goal, the objective, the expectation is to win the World Series. I'm going to do whatever the hell I can. And if that means spending money hand over fist, so the hell be it. I put it to you this way. If Rubenstein has Whole Foods and Trader Joe money and Mike Elias is still content with shopping at the fucking dollar store and Walmart, who's the one at fault? Who's one? Is it David Rubenstein's fault? He's got fucking Jason Pitts as his GM. But I will say this. I will give this element of accountability to the owner. Mr. Rubenstein, glad you're here. Glad you bought the team. You're a likable guy, everything else. But the honeymoon period is over, pal. The honeymoon period. You can sit here and toss all the heads into the stands and shuffle on top of the dugout, and no one cares about that anymore. Nobody cares about the fact that you bought the Magna Carta for a Buffalo nickel and a half. I'm not interested. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's your first big test as owner of this baseball team. And if I were you, I would bring Hyde and Elias into your offense and said, fellas, you got exactly 4 weeks to turn this shit around or your ass is out of here. The both of yous. The both of yous. I'll make Ripken or Adam Jones my new GM, and I'll name Buck Britton the manager and not think twice about it. Because keep in mind, folks, he did not hire Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde. That was not under his ownership. That was under John Angelos. John Angelos hired Elias. John Angelos and Mike Elias hired Brandon Hyde. So he has no allegiance to him. So if he feels the need that he's seeing his damn teams getting booed off the field constantly against Cleveland, against Cincinnati on Friday, Morton's getting booed off the mound on Easter Sunday. He continues to see that stuff, and he wants to remain in the good graces of the fan base. And he was serious because he did not just buy the team just to go through the motions to make money. He actually wants to become successful for a change. He owes no allegiance to the both of them. He's going to wipe his hands clean, tell him get the hell out the door, and he'll find somebody else that can put together a better roster, and he'll find somebody else that's not going to hold their young talent hostage because they want to put Jorge Mateo in second base and bat Cedric Mullins seventh when he's second in the American League on RBIs. He'll find somebody else. And you know what? Cal Ripken Jr., you're part of that ownership group, one of the greatest Orioles that's ever played. You know, the next to Jim Palmer, arguably the greatest, now that Frank and Brooks, God rest their souls, have passed on. You up there with Jim, one of the greatest living Orioles of all time. Hey, this is your baseball team, your beloved, your home state team, the team you grew up watching, the team that your dad coached for. You think your dad, Earl Weaver, Joe Alabelli, would put up with this bullshit and said, oh, you know, no need to make drastic changes. No need to make drastic changes. You got your asses handed to you 24-2. Come on, Westburg, pull your head out of your ass. 24-2, you have a sub 500 record through damn near the first month of the season, and you've played like shit since last summer. No drastic changes. What baseball team are you watching? And if Cal Ripken Jr. doesn't echo my same sentiment, you know what? I got to check his pulse. Because this is your legacy as a baseball executive that's attached to this nonsense. This is not the Oriole way. It was under Peter Angelos. It shouldn't still be right now. It's not the Oriole way that your father and Earl Weaver, God rest his soul, preached. The Orioles of the 70s and the early 80s and the late 60s. Your baseball team, find a way to fix it. Everybody. That's ownership. That's Elias if he still gives a damn. And if he has a pulse and a sense of testosterone in his body, it's Brandon Hyde too. This team is a walking disaster and a living joke. That's what they are. A big-ass pathetic joke. And I'm going to D.C. to watch the sorry fuckers play on Thursday. ain't that a real kick in the ass? Unbelievable. Let's move on to more calmer item of business, and that's the NBA playoffs. I say that facetiously, and I say that seriously. The NBA playoffs, before I get to the games, and I've had this opinion for the longest time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. The NBA playoffs needs to truncate their field from 16 teams down to 12. There are not 16 playoff teams or 16 teams worthy enough to contend for an NBA championship. There aren't. There's 30 teams in the NBA. More than half of the league makes the postseason. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So that, and the fact that we had to have play-in games where teams that finished the regular season with sub 500 records would play their way into the postseason for essentially 2 extra home games and 4 extra games in total is, I mean, it's a joke because they have too many teams, and because the NBA, unlike baseball to a certain extent, unlike the NFL, kind of sort of to a similar extent, and unlike basketball, the best team in the NBA, more often than not, always wins. More often than not, they always win. Now, football, it's the same too, but because, how many times, 1 year, Cowboys and the Packers in 2023, only the one time since the NFL expanded their field to 14 teams in which a 7 seed has beat the 2. So, and in the NBA, it's a similar set of circumstance with the 1 and the 8 and the 2 and the 7. But football, the caveat is that although more times, especially early on in the round, since they expanded to the 1 extra team in both conferences, it is still the 1 game. See, it's not a best of 7, and the fact that it's best of 7 is just way too long. First, second round, conference semis, and the first round need to be best of 5. I understand I'll never do it because God forbid a sports league takes less money or walks away from money to improve their on the field or on the court product. So it's never going to happen. But for the sake of competitive playoff basketball, and for the sake of the betterment of the game, of the sport, they need to shorten the first round to a best of 5 instead of we don't need a best of 7, first to win 4 games, win the series. In a first round playoff series, we have one between a 1 and the 8 and the 2 and the 7, where the margin of talent is so exponentially big. We don't need to play a best of 7 like it's a conference final. We don't need at the bare bones minimum 4 games, at the maximum 7, to determine who's the better team between two squads in late April when there's not a championship conference or NBA championship on the table. We need to go to a best of 5. So go from 16 teams down to 12, cut 4. You don't need 8. 1 through 6. 3 plays 6. 3 plays 6. 4 plays 5. No, I got it backwards. 2 plays 6. 2 plays 6. 3 plays. No, I had it right the first time. You give the first 2 teams that got the top 2 best records a bye. You give them a bye into the conference semis. You have the 3 play the 6 and the 4 play the 5 in the first round. Less games to watch, so you don't have to do this asinine scheduling hijinks in which you have games that start on Sunday, not have a game 2 until Wednesday, like with Cleveland and Miami, which is asinine. So you avoid having to basically cram in 3 games during the weekday when ESPN and TNT, at least for this season, have scheduling obligations with the NHL postseason, and then with ESPN on Thursday, with the Thursday and Friday of this week with the NFL draft. You avoid that nonsense, so you have the 2 games in each conference in the first round instead of 4. 2 games in the first round each conference instead of 4. Best of 5, and tell me that it won't be a better product right out the gate. If it works for baseball, where every pitch is life or death in the AL and NLDS, if it works for baseball, it can work for the NBA. Trust me, it can and it should work. Take less money, swallow your pride, stop being greedy. Your TV ratings aren't all that in a bag of chips anyway, and you like to put the games at 10 o'clock at night when the game's on TNT cable television, not over the ABC anyways. What difference does it make? Best of 5, 12 teams instead of 16, and let's get the ship going in the right direction. Plain and simple. You do that, I guarantee you have a better postseason. Guarantee have better. And unlike the NFL, will be more times than not, the best team always wins. It's not a guarantee, but most likely that's the case. The caveat in football is that it's only 1 game. If you have the one bad game, a la 07 Patriots against the 07 Giants, Super Bowl 42, that's it. You don't get a game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5, or potential 6 or 7 to right your wrongs and make up for your errors in game 1. That's it. 1 shot, 1 opportunity, and that is it. Basketball, it's not like that. Better team more often than not always wins, especially early on in the postseason. The talent discrepancies are monumental between the 1 and the 8, and the 2 and the 7, and depending on the year, sometimes the 3 and the 6. You don't need the best of 7, and we don't need to see the best team in the conference go up against the worst team in the conference that happened to qualify for a spot in the postseason. We don't need to see it happen. We give them a first round bye, and we'll see them in the conference semis. Either do it that way or truncate the field, or both. But it's also way too long. Way too long. I mean, the fact that we're not going to play an NBA Finals game for another month and a half, and we just started the postseason over this past weekend. I mean, come on. Football, it takes 3 weekends to find out who's playing in the Super Bowl. Baseball, it takes 3 weeks to complete your postseason. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3.5 weeks. But they play damn near every day. No 2-3 days off in between games 1 and 2 like we see in the NBA, which is asinine. No, they get in, they get out, and they have a champion crowned by the end of the month. the month of October. They don't start their postseason in October and end it Thanksgiving weekend. Because if it was the NBA or to an extent I'm not familiar with the NHL, that's how their postseason would go if they were in charge of the baseball postseason. We'll start in October and we'll end it around the 1st of December with Christmas. We'll crown a Stanley Cup champ. We'll crown a Stanley Cup champion, NBA champion around the time we're ready to open up Christmas gifts underneath the tree in the middle of wintertime. I mean, it's insane. It really is insane. And the first round games, game one on this weekend. I mean, you want to talk about some boring outside of the one game, which I'll get to, but outside of Denver and the Clippers, you tell me if any of the games and the game ones that were played yesterday and Saturday were worth your while. The Pacers blew out the Bucks on Saturday afternoon to get the affair started. And the Milwaukee Bucks, who did not have Dame Lillard, obviously, because of the blood clot issues in his legs. It was the Giannis Antetokounmpo show, played 38 minutes, was 14 of 23, scored 36 points, and literally got no other help from anybody else that was on the floor, his other four starting compadres. Nothing. He got nothing from Prince, who put up a goose egg. He got nothing from Brook Lopez. He got nothing from Rollins and Kyle Kuzma. The Kyle Kuzma now. Let me sit up here and say something about him right quick. If you're Kyle Kuzma and you play 22 minutes, and keep in mind, you started your season and played the majority of your season on literally the worst team in the NBA this past year, on the Washington Wizards, who were a complete, unmitigated, unwatchable, pathetic disaster. And you get traded at around trade deadline time in exchange for Chris Middleton. You go from a doormat to are they the cream of the crop? NBA Finals contender in the Eastern Conference? No, they're not as good as Boston. They're not as good as Cleveland, obviously. But it's a hell of a lot better of a situation playing for the 2025 Milwaukee Bucks than it was playing for the 2025 Washington Wizards. And you sit up here in the postseason for the first time in a hot minute. You cannot go out there and play 22 minutes of basketball and put up one goose egg after the next. Take only 5 shots, miss all 5 of them, miss the 2 threes you take, go 0 for 2 from 3, not rack up a rebound nor an assist, put up a big fat goose egg, in the words of Jeff Franklin, everywhere you look, and then have the nerve and the gall to go on a blocking spree on social media after the game because you can't take the heat because you shit your pants in a first round game 1 playoff game that Giannis needed you to perform your best in the worst way imaginable. And your first round game you're not going up against Cleveland, and you're not going up against the defending champions. You're going against the Indiana Pacers. No disrespect, but you'd rather play the Pacers in the first round than have the assignment that the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat have, and going up against the two best teams by far in the Eastern Conference throughout the course of the season. And you put up nothing but goose eggs for your 22 minutes you saw the floor on Saturday, and you turn and go on Twitter and go on a blocking spree like a little baby because you can't take the criticism. You're not mature and smart enough to see the forest through the trees, let the noise go one ear and out the other, and have it, I don't know, motivate you to get your ass in the gym so in game 2 you don't shit your pants like you did in game 1 Saturday. You want to talk about weak? That is as weak and as pathetic. This is why the modern day NBA player does not get taken seriously and or respected by the older former NBA player and by the older NBA fan, the Gen X and the baby boomer NBA fan. This is why, because of soft, goofy shit like that. And then he'll carry himself like that and then wonders why he doesn't get respected by X, Y, and Z. That is as weak and as gutless and as pathetic as it gets. Get the hell off of social media. Delete the fucking app if it bothers you so bad. Get off your ass. Get in the gym. Get in the film room, and dedicate yourself to being better. For game 2. That's all you got to do. And the fact that he shit the bed on Saturday and was ignorant and was naive enough and dumb enough to go run to social media expecting in today's current nature of the internet and social media that he was going to get bouquets after giving the Buck fan that disgusting performance. I mean, I'd make him sit 2 minutes if it was my team just in the name of pure stupidity. Who in the hell shits their bed in a big spot, whether whether if you work in the arts as an actor or a singer or a musician or a professional athlete? Who craps their bed in a big moment of opportunity and then runs to a toxic wasteland where you know people ain't going to have riveting positive things to say about you, and then you get mad when you go on there and people are essentially calling you everything but a child of God and making fun of you at every which turn. I mean, what intelligent individual with half a brain does some stupid, goofy shit like that? Kyle Kuzma, that's who. And then Pistons Knicks. Listen, you give the Detroit Pistons credit. They showed great moxie and great competitive spirit through the first 3 quarters. Their speed and transition was absolutely remarkable. They made it their business early to punch the New York Knicks in the mouth with their level of intensity and their speed and their tenacity in transition on the offensive and defensive side of the basketball. You give them tremendous credit. Initially, they looked like they were not spooked at all by the atmosphere that is playing a playoff game on the road in Madison Square Garden until the fourth quarter came. And then once the Knicks brilliantly coming out of the end of the third quarter timeout forced that 5-second violation, literally the tide turned and the game got flipped on its ear and the Knicks went out to a 21-0 run. And the Detroit Pistons couldn't buy a basket, and their great defensive prowess they showed throughout the majority of the game completely disappeared in a 40-point fourth quarter for the New York Knicks. Now, I don't think the New York Knicks are as good as they were last year. If they beat Detroit, I don't think this is going to be a short series, regardless who wins. I think this series at bare bones minimum has 6 games, maximum has 7 written all over it, because the Knicks are not as good as they were last year, and they go up against a team with a cause, young, motivated, that's happy to be there, that's going to give it everything they have to upset New York to advance to the second round and maybe be that Cinderella team that could go up again, that could make it to a conference final against either Cleveland or Boston, depending on how the rest of the Eastern Conference shakes itself out. But it'd be very interesting to see how Game 2 shapes out. Because, and also with Brunson with the ankle injury too as well, because if this ankle injury is going to linger throughout their playoff run from here on out, that spells nothing but trouble for the New York Knicks going forward. The less injuries, the less health scares they have, the better the likelihood of all their guys being operating at 90 to 100%, the better off they're going to be. Because I just don't think this team is. I don't think this team is that good. It's just their level of defensive intensity collectively, periodically, isn't what it was last year. They're not that good. We talked about against the top teams in the NBA, and I think eventually, even if they make it out of this series against Detroit, I think the chicken's going to come home to roost with that given statistic with them as the playoffs go along. But it's going to be interesting to see how Detroit bounces back. You know, they had a solid game 1 until the fourth quarter came, and then they had no. You know, it's like the old Mike Tyson line. Everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. Well, let's see what type of game plan JB Bickerstaff and the Detroit Pistons have heading into Game 2 tonight. Because now they're on. Because if they fall into a 2-0 hole with them having little playoff experience, and we see in the NBA playoffs, especially throughout these Game 1s, playoff experience is everything, especially for the young whippersnapper teams early on. The more experience you have, the better, especially if you don't have a home court, which the Detroit Pistons don't. So, and if they fall into a 2-0 hole, they're going to be heading back to Detroit. You know, they might win Game 3, but they got games 4 and 5. They're going to have to think about, with Game 5 being at MSG. And if there's a Game 5 and they go to MSG having split their 2 games in Detroit. If they lose tonight, it's going to be clips for the Detroit. That's the only way I think this could be a short series, is if the Pistons do not find a way to win tonight. I think that they will. Cade Cunningham is an absolute dog. They've been one of the more better coached teams in the NBA throughout the course of the season. I like their speed and just their overall gritty toughness about them that they have, that this year's version of the Knicks clearly has not shown and showcased consistently all season long. I think they'll get off the deck tonight. Game 2, they've spent a few days in New York. They've had a day and a half to think about their game 1 defeat. Not to get down on themselves, brush it off. First time being here, brush it off your shoulder. You win Monday, all of a sudden you got a series with back-to-back games in your building in Detroit. And you give the Knicks something to think about depending on how tonight goes, if you're skilled and fortunate enough to win. But I like the Pistons to even this series up at a game apiece night. I'm interested to see the health of Jalen Brunson, if any, him coming down, jumping for a rebound, or him sprinting coast to coast. I want to see the strength and the durability of that ankle that acted up on Saturday evening. I want to see how it treats him in the early stages of this game coming up tonight. And I need to see the Knicks play with that same level of focus and intensity in quarter 1, 2, and 3 as they did in the fourth quarter on Saturday evening. I need to see that. But I'm looking forward to game 2, Pistons and Knicks, coming up 7:30 on TNT. And then I'll touch on the Clippers and the Nuggets last. What's the other game ones from the other night? You got the Timberwolves and the LA Lakers. I quite frankly, heading into game 2, I don't know what to make of this series. Obviously the Lakers, and especially LeBron during his tenure as a Laker, has shown and provided a tendency where they come out the gate very lethargic. Now, I understand it's under different, coaching with Ham and with Frank Vogel, where, they sleepwalk through these game 1s, and then all of a sudden games 2, 3, and so on and so forth, they look like a totally different basketball team, and you look up and the Lakers win the series in 5, 6 games. But, I would be embarrassed by their lack of effort and lack of intensity game 1 against the Timberwolves at home on Saturday evening. I mean, they went through now he's a pain in the ass, and he is very, I am not as you guys know, a big JJ Redick fan. Never have been, never will be. His personality it rubs me the wrong way. I think that's, he's a guy that, walks around thinking he's the toughest guy in the room until he, think he's the biggest asshole known to man, until he, finally meets someone that can theoretically, quote unquote, punch up to his weight class. But he put it together perfectly when he got interviewed. I think it was at the end of the third quarter when it aired, if I'm not mistaken. Their energy and just the flow and the pace of how they played on Saturday evening, it was like it was a walk in the park regular season game in the middle of February. I mean, the Timberwolves were aware it was playoff time. The LA Lakers, it was a walk in the park. I mean, just no hustle, no heart, no attention to detail. They were so bad and so lethargic. It was embarrassing. I mean, this is game 1 of a first-round playoff series against a team that made it to the conference finals last year, and you got your new coach, JJ Redick, there making his playoff coaching debut, and it's just they look like they wanted to be anywhere else but out there, and nobody cares about the little run they put together early in the late third, early fourth quarter. I'm not interested. They look like they wanted to be anywhere else but at the Staples Center on Saturday night. And also, let me get on the fan base too. And Mike and the OC, this is for you. Would it kill any of the I understand like the idea of the Lakers, especially in this generation, in this day and age, is to make sure the Joe Burrows of the world flock to the game, which he did. I saw it during the telecast on Saturday night. I understand that's the idea, and that's what the LA Lakers pride themselves on, and what makes Jeannie Buss happy. But can we put on the damn yellow T-shirts? It's a playoff game, not a regular season game against the Wizards in the middle of wintertime on a Tuesday night, and nobody cares. Can we get all the fans in that building, put on, including the Hollywood stooges and the white collar rich fucks that don't want to put the cheap Laker playoff T-shirt on top of their $100,000 Saturday night attire that they wore, so they could be seen on national television on ABC, so Joe Burrow can see and be, oh, wow, look at this, look at me, I'm rubbing elbows with the rich and famous athletes. Put the damn T-shirts on. Put the yellow Laker playoff T-shirts on. No one is too pious, is too high and mighty not to wear the playoff T-shirt. They have it there. They give it away for free. They put it on the back of the chair of every single seat in the building. Wear the damn T-shirts. And on top of that arena, not wearing the T-shirts on Saturday, and then just the overall just vibe and energy in that building. I mean, it was like a run of the mill regular season game on a Wednesday night in late January, not game one of a playoff game in mid to late April. I mean, you went from the raucous crowd, and they got just as much. They have just as many high-profile fans in attendance, and they got just as many rich white-collar individuals at MSG as they do at the Staples Center. But I give the Knicks fan base and I give MSG this. Every single home playoff game I've seen them play since their playoff series against the Atlanta Hawks during the spring of 2021, and it's a close game, win or lose, that building is shake, rattling, and rolling for all 4 quarters. That building is loud. It's noisy. They stand up constantly. They got the T-shirts on. Even if they don't have the T-shirts on, the building is alive, and there is a buzz you get watching a Knicks playoff game in that arena, to the point where that energy literally oozes through your television. We sitting like you feel like you're in the building watching. That's how contagious the energy is in that building. And just as many actors, slash celebrities alike, and white collar business people that work in Wall Street and Lower Manhattan, just as many show up at the Knicks playoff games as they do the Laker playoff games. Yet the Knicks playoff games, it's an amazing college-like environment, and you watch a Laker playoff game and they put you to sleep halfway through the second quarter, and I got a problem with that. Mike and the OC, tell your dopey fan base to put the damn T-shirts on. Tell your goofy fan base, put the damn T-shirts on. And if you're not interested, give up your tickets to the raucous Laker fan that'll go there and that'll make noise and will treat it like it's a playoff game, not a regular season game in the middle of February on a Thursday night against the Charlotte Hornets where nobody cares. It's enough. But from the fans down to the players and the coaches themselves, they treated that game on Saturday night like an exhibition. I mean, the defensive intensity was non-existent. Julius Randle had a solid night, 6 of 11 from the field, walked away with 16 points, was 4-6 from 3. Obviously, Anthony Edwards had a solid game, 22 points. McDaniels, 11 of 13, was perfect from 3, had a magnificent night from the field. They got thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, outclassed by the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. Thoroughly outclassed. And LeBron James, as he's made a habit in doing in these game ones, he sleepwalks through 90% of the game. As you didn't see LeBron James get aggressive and take matters into his own hand until about midway through the third quarter. He let Luka Doncic run the show, and outside of Heat, it was nobody else that was producing outside of Austin Reeves, who had 16 points, 5 of 13. You had absolutely, positively nothing from the LA Lakers offensively. Nothing. Rui Hachimura was awful. Austin Reeves was okay, and they got absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing from their bench. Lakers got some soul searching to do heading into the game, too. Plain and simple. They have some legit soul searching to do, or they're going to find themselves in a 2-0 hole quick, fast, and in a hurry. And I don't trust the Lakers, to get the series tied at 2-2 to force it back to Miami if they're down in a 2-0 hole. And they got to go into the teeth of that building in Minnesota for games 3 and 4, and they're down 2-0. And that's not exactly a young basketball team either. Not a young team. Younger, but it's not as young as it should be. And you get the feeling also not as hungry. Not as hungry. And if they get bounced in the first round, I also don't want to hear any more about how J.J. Redick is the second coming of Pat Riley. Because if they get bounced in the first round, hell, if they don't make it to the NBA Finals with the West being as top heavy as it is, I don't want to hear a damn thing about how good of a coach Jay. Now it doesn't mean next sentence, it does mean that they shouldn't have fired Darvin Ham because they should. But if they don't make it to an NBA Finals, I don't want to hear none of this nonsense about J.J. Redick being the second coming of Phil Jackson. That'll be out the window if they don't make it deep into the month of May with this playoff run. And I'm dead serious when I say that, too. It's about time the LA Lakers get off the dais and quit shuffling and dragging their feet in these postseason series, in these postseason games. It's almost like where the Lakers were happy to be here, and they, put into cruise control, and they think they're going to cruise their way to an NBA championship. That's not how this game is played. You want to win, play with some fire in your belly. Minnesota had more fire than the Lakers did on Saturday. And can LeBron James not be so passive? I understand Luka. He's got Luka as his teammate. He's got to feed him the ball. But can he not be so damn passive offensively? He literally was nowhere to be found for about 2.5 quarters. And then he goes on social media. Some stooge, whatever, was talking shit about his wife. And he feels the need to go on social media and address that after we saw him literally ham and egg his way through a mediocre at best game 1 performance in the postseason. I mean, really? In terms of Sunday's games, Grizzlies are not on the same level. Not that this was breaking news. They're not on the same level as the Oklahoma City Thunder. That series will be over in a Thanos snap. The Grizzlies have no chance. Firing the head coach, John Morant, he's got hella talent, but he's a very erratic player, especially when he goes up against superior competition. And Oklahoma City is better. SGA is great. Isaiah Hartenstein is great. Lou Dort had a solid game, shot 50% from the field, had 12 points. Chet Holmgren's phenomenal down low. They don't have the talent to keep up with Oklahoma City. That'll be, and Zach Edey, for as tall as he is a complete weak, and I mean weak, all capitals, WEK, weak player and a liability defensively in the low post. How in the hell is he that big, that damn tall? And oh my god, oh jeez, not exactly an impressive rookie campaign I've seen from him in the 2024-2025 NBA season. That I can tell you. The Magic, same thing with the Celtics. They can't hang with the Boston Celtics. They can't. I mean, the Celtics are such a proficient team shooting the basketball, especially from three. They're surgical. They're surgical. They had Pritchard come off the bench, was 4 of 6 from 3, scored 19 points coming off the bench. And this is with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown putting up a clunker. I mean, Jason Tatum was 8 for 22, 1 of 8 from 3. Jaylen Brown was 6 of 14 from the field, 0 of 2 from, they were combined 1 of 10 from 3, and what? 15 of 36 from the field, scored a combined, what? 20, no, a combined 33 points, and they won the game by damn near 20. That's how great they are. That's how talented this basketball team is. And that's how well they play when the two best players have a bad game. Can you imagine if one or the other does complete 180 heading into game 2? I mean, the Magic literally, unless they need catastrophic injuries to happen in order for them to have a prayer, not even for them to win, in order for them to have a prayer in this series, they need something catastrophically to go wrong for Boston in order for them to have a prayer in this series. If not, even with Tatum and Brown having their worst game, the rest of their crew is going to pick up the slack, as we saw on Sunday. They can't hang with Boston. They can't hang, especially in that building. They got no chance. They got no chance. And who knows what kind of a home court advantage they'll have for games 3 and 4 coming up later this week. Because I wouldn't be surprised if literally get a bunch of Bostonians that are either former Bostonians that live in Orlando or will take a nice little late spring break sojourn down to the building and take over that building, and you'll see nothing but green and white painted all over the Amway Center down there in downtown Orlando, Florida. So, yeah, that series is going to be over as quick as it started. Same thing also with Heat and the Cavs. Now, I give the Heat credit. They did hang with Cleveland for about a half, but again, they're not as good. They're not as talented as the Cleveland Cavaliers are. Give Tyler Hero credit, did the best he could, shot 7 of 18, 50% from the field, 21 points. Also, Bam Adebayo had a solid game from the field, but the Cleveland Cavaliers, too much to handle. Too much to handle offensively. Donovan Mitchell is great. They got an absolutely sensational performance from their bench with a magnificent game highlighted by Ty Jerome. Shot 10 of 15 from the field, couldn't miss from 3, shot 5 of 8, and walked away with 28 points. And he had more points scored than he had minutes played as a bench player. 26 minutes, he had 28 points. I mean, he was absolutely you get that production coming off your bench, throwing Donovan Mitchell having another stellar game. There's only going to be so much the Miami Heat are going to be able to do. See, you're going to have a lot of 4 and 5 game series in this. The only series I see going the distance is the Clippers and the Nuggets series, along with the Knicks and the Pistons, given if the Pistons win tonight. If not, you honestly could only have one game go the distance. Or one series go the distance. Maybe 2, depending on how game 2 between the Lakers and the Timberwolves go. Now, you have game 2 tonight with the Clippers and the Nuggets. And the funny thing about basketball is, and the funny thing about Russell Westbrook, he keeps both teams in the game. He had the phenomenal 3 late, and then he dribbled the basketball off the op there in the final closing seconds when the Nuggets had a chance to win the game in the final seconds in regulation there in the fourth quarter. He keeps both teams in the game. But give him credit. This was his performance here in the fourth quarter on Saturday afternoon. Made a layup to make it 93-92 with 3:37 to go in the fourth. Then at 2:52 to go, he made a layup to make it 95-94. He hit a 3 to give him a 98-96 advantage. The first player in the PBP era since 1997 to have 3 made shots in the final 4 minutes of a fourth quarter in a playoff game that took his team trailing to leading in every single shot made. His legacy is going to be one of the more convoluted, murky, gray area legacies of an NBA Hall of Fame player, honestly, we've ever seen in the last 25, 30-something years. He has the Hall of Fame stats, the triple-double records, the MVPs. He has the resume, but then he makes plays, and he's a little bit like Rory McIlroy. He's the Roy McIlroy of the NBA, honestly, when you think about it. He showcases tremendous moments and episodes of greatness on one hand, and on the other hand, it's like, what is this scrub doing playing in the NBA, playing for a championship contending team? He keeps both teams in the game. But that's going to be an absolutely phenomenal, I mean phenomenal series going forth. That was a magnificent overtime game on Saturday afternoon. James Harden was great, 11 for 22, scored 32 points off 11 assists. I mean, they got 22, 21, 32, 12, and 10 from their starters. I mean, you can't get much, and they lost by a basket. You can get much better than that. Kawhi Leonard was 9 of 15, 41 minutes of action, had a solid game. Zubac was great, 10 of 15, and racked up 13 boards. James Harden was prolific, shooting the basketball from beyond the arc. And then you take a look at the Denver Nuggets, though. I mean, Jokic, is he not one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA? Certainly the best big man in the NBA. Because what he does on a game-in, game-out basis is stuff I've never seen before. 12 to 24, 12 assists, his passing ability. Oh my gosh, is it a sight to behold? His ability to spread the wealth offensively. He gets the ball in a low post, attracts so much attention, and then it's like he's like Magic Johnson with the ball in his hand. How creative and how instinctive of a passer he has become. 29 points. Aaron Gordon had 25 of his own. Jamal Murray also made a solid contribution with 21 points. This is going to be a hell of a series. Tyronn Lue is one of the more underrated coaches in the NBA, in my humble opinion. Going to come out swinging in game two. The two best series, if you were to pick a series in each conference, if you only had one option to pick one series, first round playoff series in each conference, these would be the two series you would pick. Detroit and New York, and the Clippers and Nuggets. I think these are going to be by far, without a shadow of a doubt, the two best first round playoff series in both conferences for the next week and a half. And both game twos tonight, appointment television. Now, I would like the Knicks game to start at 7 instead of 7:30, so the Clippers and Nuggets game isn't tipping off at essentially 10:15, and I would be, when I got an early-ass doctor's appointment the next day, got toothpicks in my eyes trying to stay awake, so I can stay up and watch a double overtime thriller between these two teams, hopefully tonight. But you're going to have two magnificent game twos ahead on Monday. In terms of Tuesday, listen, Bucks Pacers, we'll see if the Bucks have life with Glenn Rivers so they can bounce back coming up in game two. On Tuesday night, Grizzlies and Thunder. I don't think the Grizzlies have a prayer. As long as the Thunder show up, they should win game two with ease. Timberwolves and Lakers, I want to see the Lakers play with some damn heart and some intensity for a change and give that young Timberwolves team something to think about. Because if they walk out of L.A. with 2 games in their back pocket, you won't be able to tell that team shit. DiVincenzo, Randall, Anthony, they will be the most cockiest, most arrogant, most confident SOBs in the sports lexicon heading into game 3 if the Lakers sleepwalk through game 2 tomorrow night. Lakers need to show some grit, some balls, and give this young team something to think about. Luka, don't be a defensive liability. Show up, and if he doesn't, LeBron, quote-unquote, GOAT James, takeover mode. Stop being passive, takeover mode. I mean, your effort was so pathetic. I got to look at Bronny James and Dalton Connect get garbage time with 2-3 minutes and change left in a fourth quarter in L.A. in a game one of a first-round playoff series against the Western Conference runners-up from last year. I mean, that's pathetic. Pathetic. Game 2's on Wednesday. Warriors and Rockets, I tell you, going to be a very interesting series. That series also, I think, has potential to go 7. The thing that scares me with that is that the Rockets with their team, their playoff inexperience is so damning when you compare it to Steph, Dre, and to a lesser extent, Jimmy Butler. They can't go back to Golden State down 2-0. If they go back to Golden State down 2-0, they're finished. They're finished. Now, granted, they had a better regular season than Golden State did, obviously, which is why they got the higher seed. But in terms of playoff experience, even down to the head coaching staff with Ime Udoka, it's not even a comparison. It's not even a comparison. I mean, Steve Kerr outcoached Ime Udoka in circles in the finals. What year was that? In 2022. So it's not. Come on. And if playoff Jimmy is indeed activated, it could be a long, short series for the Houston Rockets. And that's the thing about with them that scares me the most. And also the psychological piece. Now, it has nothing to do with the players on that team nor the head coach because they were not the group in charge, in the James Harden, Mike D'Antoni years when, Steph Curry was taking them out behind the woodshed and was putting belt to ass on those numerous playoff games and those playoff series back in the mid 2010s, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But the psychological piece will come into effect if that team is down 3-1 heading into a game 5 in Houston within a few days' time. That building, here we go again. Steph Curry's going to do it again. And the next thing you know, you're a 2 seed going back. What? No, they're not. Are they a 2 or are they a 3? I think they're a 3 if I'm not mistaken. No, they're a 2 because Golden State is a 7. Golden State's a 7 seed, so they're a 2 seed. But let me double check. Yeah, they're a 2 seed. They're gonna go home zone. Oh, we were a 2 seed. They had to go through the play-in to get here, and that damn Steph Curry got us again. And then add Jimmy Butler, onto the list. And God forbid they get down and you got to worry about the Dylan Brooks versus Draymond Green pissing match that'll take their attention away from winning. So if the Rockets are not careful, they could be out of here quickly. It is so important for them to get game 2 going back to San Francisco coming up on Wednesday night. So important. So important. But that's your NBA right there. Looking forward to 2 games tonight. Give me Detroit to bounce back and win game 2. Give me both road teams, Clippers and Detroit, to win tonight to tie the series up at a game apiece. As both series will shift to Detroit and LA respectively for games 3 and 4 coming on up. In terms of the NFL draft, listen, you guys know how much I can't stand it, so I will touch on it as briskly and as swiftly as humanly possible. Storylines, you basically know them. If not, I'll rehash them for you right quick. Where is Shedeur Sanders going to end up? A lot of people saying he could end up going to the New Orleans Saints because of the news that came out of Saints camp with the health of Derek Carr. Obviously, the Browns have Flacco and Jameis Winston on their payroll. The Giants have no, not Jameis Winston. I apologize. The Giants have. The Browns have Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco on the payroll. The Giants have Jameis Winston and obviously Russell Wilson on theirs. The Steelers are interested in Aaron Rodgers, which makes no damn sense, not to mention they don't pick high enough where Shedeur Sanders would be in their realm of possibilities. The Vikings want to give J.J. McCarthy an opportunity to see what they have with him, and rightfully so. It looks like that the Titans they are going to be in a situation where they look like they want Cam Ward at a University of Miami. So we'll see where Shedeur Sanders goes to storyline number one. Where, to a lesser extent, where Travis Hunter is going to go is another interesting storyline heading into the draft. And also, and let me say this because I know that he has been on record of saying, well, for the teams that don't want me to play two ways, I would sooner quit football than be forced to play exclusively one side of the ball. Let me tell Travis Hunter this just so he doesn't get his feelings hurt and, get a slice of cold humble pie that's not going to go down well at the NFL level. Hey, let me put it to you this way. If playing both sides of the ball, and he's done way that much, he's like 185 or 190 pounds. He's not that big in terms of his weight and his musculature. If playing both sides of the ball was that easy at the NFL level and there was no struggle or no sign of difficulty that came with doing that, it would have been done before. There have been plenty of electric athletes that have come out of college into and through the NFL long before Travis Hunter in the early parts of this decade, in the 2010s, in the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s. I mean, we literally had an NFL where Prime and Bo Jackson both played two sports, were in the NFL, and in the peak of their craft in doing so at one particular moment in time. Do you think that if they were given the opportunity to play both sides of the ball, they would have? Bo Jackson couldn't have been an elite linebacker along with being an elite running back. Prime couldn't have been an elite wide receiver, at the Z, and also been one of the game's more prolific lockdown corners we've ever seen in the history of the game. I mean, it's just, what are we doing here? Not to say that he can't do it. I'm not saying it as a place of hate or as a place of jealousy. I'm just saying we gotta curtail our confidence to make sure that it doesn't breach a point into being recklessly overly confident and into a place of tomfoolery and arrogance and stupidity. If it was that easy, then it would have been done before. I mean, you would think about and take the physical part out of it. Anybody that's watched football and or played it at the high school and or the college level knows football is just as much of a mental game up here as it is a physical game out there on the field mano a mano. So Travis Hunter is going to have weeks, especially, and it has been rumored that he could end up going to Cleveland. So let's just take that as a perfect example. He ends up becoming a member of the Cleveland Browns. He is going to have to study as a DBS wide receiver. He's going to have to study film on how to game plan against passing attacks highlighted and led by Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson on the defensive side of the football. He's going to have to watch film and study and know the tendencies of T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and Zay Flowers, along with knowing the tendencies on the offensive side of the football of the likes of Joey Porter Jr., the DBs that my Bengals have, the DBs that the Ravens got, with obviously with Kyle Hamilton, the best safety in the division. He's going to have to game plan against those guys 6 times a season. Both sides of the ball, double time, game plan against the opposing quarterback and against the opposing set of DBs he's going up against as a wide receiver. He's going to have to do that 6 times a season. Not to mention if the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles Any of those, the Commanders, obviously not this year because the North just played the Commanders, but you know what I'm trying to say. He's going to have to game plan against those guys within the division and then any other outside division competition. The Bills, the Chargers, Kansas City, out of the division with the Eagles and the Commanders and whatever team that's good in the West, the Houston Texans. I mean, come on. Come on. If it was that easy, it would have been done before. Not to say that he can't do it, but he is in for a hell of an awakening if he thinks he's going to be able to do it with ease and with flying colors like he was able to do at the college level at Colorado. This is not the Big 12, Pac-12 football. Game planning against Texas Tech. Come on. This is the National fucking Football League, in the words of Bill Belichick. It don't get much tougher. It don't get much harder. It don't get much more cutthroat than this level. Going up against the creme de la creme of athletes on both sides of the ball and the best coaches. Some are better than others, but the best coaches the game has to offer. I mean, think about it. Within a division, as a DB, he's going to have to study and know the tendencies of Metcalf, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And on the flip side, study the tendencies of the likes of Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. He's going to have to do that multiple times, 4 to 6 times in a given season. And that's again, not including whatever other elite competition he's going to have to face outside of the division. And that's not going to account for weather and everything else. If it was that easy, trust me, would have been done before. I'd like to see him do it. See the game of football get a Shohei Ohtani of their own. It'd be an interesting sight to see. But if he thinks he's going to waltz into the NFL and be able to do what he was able to do in Boulder, Colorado with ease on this level, he's got another thing coming. I know I'm no Hall of Fame NFL player, let alone Pro Bowl, let alone all Pro NFL player by any stretch of the imagination. But I played the sport varsity level in high school, and I've watched enough NFL football to realize it takes a little bit more than physical ability to be elite in this level. You got to be just as sharp up here as you are catching the ball, running, blocking, and everything else physically that goes into making a great NFL player. And then not to mention the physical grueling toll it's going to take on his body. 17 games, no bye week. God forbid the Thursday night games in the middle of the season. God forbid the international games. And that's not to account for weather. If he's playing in Cleveland out there on Lake Erie and Pittsburgh, no picnic in the wintertime, and the same with Cincinnati and the same with Baltimore. I mean, come on. Come on. But him going both ways, what team will take a chance, draft him, and let him play both sides of the ball for as long as they'll allow is interesting. What the Giants, not the Giants, but obviously what the Steelers do they take their chances and hold their nose with Aaron Rodgers eventually? Do they draft the quarterback with their first round pick or in the second or the third round going forward, and draft the project? Going to be what do the Seahawks do at quarterback? Yes, they signed Sam Darnold to it. They traded for he was a free agent. They signed Sam Darnold to a free agent, to a contract in free agency, but he's probably not going to be most likely going to be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks any more than the next 4 or 5 seasons at the most. So what they do at quarterback, they need a new quote-unquote Russell Wilson franchise quarterback in their own right. So what they do at the quarterback position is going to be interesting, not to mention, obviously, where Shedeur goes, where Travis Hunter goes, where Cam Ward goes. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to draft Scatterboo, the rough and tough running back out of Arizona State, who put his team on his back in the Peach Bowl, obviously back on New Year's Day Where Ashton Genty is going to go is going to be very interesting to see. And what my Cincinnati Bengals do specifically. Do they attack offensive line with their first round pick? Do they load up on defense and hold their breath and see whatever they can muster up in-house, and if not on the free agency market to fill those two guard positions? What do they do heading into Thursday and Friday? What do they do? My opinion, you stock up on defense. You stock up on defense, you get your edge rushers, your defensive linemen, and you continue to build your secondary. And low-key your linebackers too, because Jermaine Pratt probably is not going to be long until they trade him. Could be within a matter of the next few days. We don't know. And obviously, what the Bengals are going to do with the Trey Hendrickson saga, which still has no final verdict, which is hard to believe. We're sitting here, April 21st, a whole month and change later, and we still know what the deal's going to be with Trey Hendrickson. They're going to trade him for some picks the eve of draft night, on draft night, or they're going to buck up and get a contract signed and then fill in the holes with their team, and let the chips fall where they may. Going to be very interesting to see how the Bengals, finish building their roster with training camp essentially, about 3 months away or thereabouts. So be very interesting to see how my Cincinnati Bengals shape themselves heading into the NFL draft, along with other teams. The Commanders looking to get better. The Ravens, with essentially no money to spend in free agency, they typically, more often than not, historically ace the NFL draft with flying colors. They've done so collectively years on end as a franchise. Be interesting to see. Very interesting heading into the draft coming up at the later part of this week. And how in the world that was not ruled a home run with, Aaron Judge should have 8 home runs at this point. And the fact that he doesn't, Major League Baseball, it's an unmitigated disgrace. Now, listen, I get it. Minor league ballpark, not ideal. The Rays shouldn't even be in the city of Florida, and in a lot of people's eyes, they shouldn't even exist if you ask certain people. But I don't understand. Yes, had a perfect camera angle of that ball clearly going through the trees and fair territory by a country mile. How they initially ruled that foul, I don't understand. And how they were unable to reverse it on the replay when it was clear. You got to squint. You got to slow it down frame by frame. You can clearly see a white speck go through a line of trees that is clearly in fair territory. And yes, had the perfect camera angle. So I don't want to hear this nonsense. Well, it was a minor league park. We couldn't see the camera angle, this, that, and the third. It's not a minor league park a la what the A's are dealing with in Sacramento. This is the Yankees spring training ballpark. So I don't understand. And far be it for me to stick up for the New York Yankees, but how they called that a foul ball when it was clear as, and I thought it was a home run initially live in real time, and they somehow ruled it foul. Why have replay if you're going to get the rulings wrong? I don't understand. Max Fried also getting his no-hitter taken away from him because of the official score going back also was a little rough to take. I'm defending the Yankees as much as I hate to do it, but boy, did they get raw. They got dropped. Now, it didn't affect the outcome of the game, thankfully, or the Yankee fan would still be kicking and screaming, but they got raw. For what is worth, they got royally jobbed by Major League Baseball in more ways than one in their series finale against the Tampa Bay Rays on Sunday afternoon. And Devin Williams is not the answer. Why Luke Weaver is not the closer of the New York Yankees, and we got to go through the same song and dance with Devin Williams. It was like, did Brian Cashman not watch that 9th inning in, Game 3 of the wild card series against the Mets, his last ever appearance in Brewer pinstripes? Did he not watch that 9th inning? When the Brewers busted their ass to get the lead back, they have the Mets literally on their last breath with 2 strikes and 2 outs, and he gives up a cookie to Alonso for them to hit to the opposite field over the right field fence to knock the Brewers out of the postseason and extend the OMG Miracle Mets season another round and another 2 rounds, actually. Did he not see that game? I mean, did he not? What were they constructing their lineup and their game plan for Kansas City? I don't understand. How in the hell did he not see Devin Williams vomit all over himself for the world to see in that Friday night and early it wasn't on a Friday night. It was on I think it was on a Thursday night. It was on a Thursday night. Did he not? How in the hell did he not see that? He must have been the only person in the baseball world in America that did not see Devin Williams self-destruct and literally ruin the Brewers' season. Gives up the cookie to Alonso, and the rest is history. And he goes ahead and he makes a trade for him, brings him in as a Yankee, and he's been a complete disaster. Outside of a quick outing that he had on Thursday night in which he threw like less than 10 pitches. Outside of that, he's been a complete disaster as the Yankee closer here in the 2025 campaign. And he imploded on himself with a multi-run advantage to boot late Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening. They lost the game in extra innings. And had it not been for that, the Yankees would have swept Tampa this weekend. So there's your baseball. And there's another episode of the I'm Tilly Catalia's podcast in the books. Like what you heard, new to the program, please don't hesitate to subscribe here or there. No, it's here, right here. Subscribe if you have not already. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at the J Shield. Until next time, peace. We are out. Talk to you on Friday.